Well, thank you so much for waiting. And you know what? This match is going to be well worth the wait. It's Alliance versus T1.
Alliance versus T1. Game 1.
Well, we thought this moment would never come, but we're finally here in the draft of game number 1. We did have some technical issues. Slacks actually stole the headsets. He was running around. He didn't give them back to T1. Was even tweeting about Fog to divert attention. Awful man, really. But we're finally here. We're ready for the draft. And now we can talk about Dota. So, Fog, I'm going to ask you first. What can we expect here from Alliance?
Well, step one, I was hoping that T1 would take out that Tidehunter. I think that's also a really good option if Alliance was able to get it. I think other hero that me and Effie were looking at is probably the Lina is the other, of course, when the panel was talking about, at least for Alliance, heavy contested hero between the two of them. And then we'll trickle down to our, our Snapfires, our Disruptors, big team fight heroes, depending on what they're playing against. And of course, Alliance might have to be thinking right now is, do we want to ban the Doom? Do we move it up in priority? Do we look for IO? Because they had a couple struggle games on it too, so let's see what it's going to be.
I think we should expect a Magnus pick too, just because of his performance yesterday was absurdly good. He did well in groups, but after what we saw yesterday, I think this should be a hero to look for, and there it is.
Yep. There we go.
Priority shifted for sure after the yesterday series.
And for T1, whenever we watch them play, they just seem like you give them a comfort pick and they will outplay you. That's the name of the game most of the time. Jenkins always says that this team will pick the greediest draft and still fight you. Like they would go 3 Midas and still fight you because they just know that they can perform the team fights better. So, Effie, could we expect more of these team fighting heroes to go with the Magnus, or we maybe see the Doom that Carl's been running around a lot?
I think it just really depends on what Alliance are looking to play here, but the reason why we expected Magnus to come out is because number one, he does enable his greedy cores, but two, in the past, Magnus used to just be played around RP, right? And that's what people saw him as. But this new style of just horn toss skewer back as a form of initiation is absurdly good. You can play without the cooldown of RP. And in the right hands, Magnus can just check a lot of bases. And those are just ensuring that your net worth is always up and just always having the ability to initiate or counter-initiate, right? So it's incredibly valuable, especially in the hands of T1 or Alliance, by the way. S4 plays a great Magnus, so I'm a bit surprised that they didn't actually consider it here at Fogged.
Yeah, I'm surprised with their opener, actually, the 2 supports just like this. Maybe they're really expecting one of those like spirits that are really pesky and they don't want Lion to be banned out. They want to have that hard disable for it, but I know Snapfire has been super contested, but really interesting to see them just open up with that. Because now it's your supports are not going to be frontliners. Initiation will be a little bit harder, and T1's going to be the one that just snaps picks Lina. So that feels like, I mean, I look at T1s and it just feels much more comfortable, and it feels like it just ticks more boxes in the draft overall.
100%, and I think of all of the mid heroes that you want in first phase, you should be looking at the Lina because she doesn't have any bad lane matchups. She scales into the late game, she shoves waves and can play with only 2 items, which are BOTs and BKB, and obviously built into Silver Edge, which is the DPS item of the patch. Perhaps the reasoning behind Lion is that they know that T1 do like to play heroes like Puck that are slippery and just securing it early in the draft makes sure it doesn't get banned out later. Another idea behind it could be that if they are taking a fight on Vision and they have Vision of this Magnus, Lion can pre-cast the Hex, and when he links in, he'll be instantly hexed, right? So that could have been what they were looking at here.
I also saw Lion yesterday. 2 times we saw teams pick like illusion heroes into the Lion or pick like these elusive heroes into the Lion, and we're like, wow, Lion looks really good now. And we saw the mana drain like own throughout the game. He's just getting super farmed and taking out either the TB illusions or it was, I can't remember what the other one was, but either our Spectre was the other one. So
yeah, that's typically how it works. And Lion was forgotten for a really long time up until Puck was the mid hero of the patch 8 months ago, and it made Lion rise to popularity, right? Storm as well, and Storm has been an incredible hero throughout this tournament, I would say. I doubt we'll be seeing it come out of Alliance. It's not a limp hero, but it is pretty nice here. Like, I look at these 2 heroes and I would like to see a Storm.
yeah, I want something that Alliance can start the fight with that starts the fight with the Lion, that you can jump in and follow up, and something else that Lion's going to take some time, right, to get that Blink Dagger. So I want something that's just going to naturally be able to go in and start the fight, which could be that mid hero. But it's going to be limited because I did get to see the I got to actually cast the T1 versus Alliance in the group stages too, and they put Limp in a bad matchup because he needed to be that kind of catch and jump in, and he never got to play the game. It was a 20-minute stomp. They got Necrophos mid. He was Ember. He was trying to be the one that like lead in pre-blink daggers on his other cores, and the game never even got off the bat for them. So
I expect S4 to fill that role we were talking about of jumping in with the Lion, but I can't really think of any high damage offlaners at the moment. But that's the nice synergy of having a Snapfire as well. You can go into the Lion and you can just throw the Mortimers from a distance. Something that I get reminded of when I look at things like this is they actually, they do ban out the Void. That's unfortunate because they did try this style of having Nico maybe just play Void, be the initiator, and putting Limp on something long range like a Sniper. And Sniper can be very good here actually because he outranges Lina and it forces her to buy a Blink Dagger.
But they did lose with the Sniper versus T1 in the group stage too, right? They like picked it versus the Razor to try to counteract it, and Limp got ran down by an ET the entire game with Zephyr chasing him. So I mean, it's definitely a good pick here. Just like that might be like this bad memory inside of Limp's mind where he's like, maybe give me something else there. So we're seeing very team-specific bans coming out, and it is going to be the Ember. So I felt like this was going to be forced, but now it's like into this matchup versus the Lina. I'm a little worried already off the bat from Limp because I saw this the other day. I saw this in the group stages. It was a worse matchup versus Necrophos, but is it maybe? Maybe Lina's even worse. Sure, in the mid game you can do something about it because Lina's squishy, but
depending on how you choose to scale your abilities, you can always just go for Flame Guard and just farm camps in between. But Ember does get severely bullied by Lina in lane, but he is going to be good at dodging her abilities, and of course, dodging Magnus's abilities. If you have a Remnant out, you can just react faster than he casts his spells.
What can we be seeing in the 3 position? Because they also talk about the DK for S4. Very successful hero against Beast Ghost. You were talking about needing someone that can be that frontliner. What are options left in the offlane?
They've traditionally liked something like a Beastmaster, something that can actually give them some natural push in the lineup. Because when you already have a mid Ember, sure, you're going to be able to fight in battle, but now your lineup is already really crippled on pushing. So that's something they really do like, something with some reach. But into Bane, that can be a little bit more complicated.
I like the idea of Mars with the Snapfire. It seems like a very strong line, obviously with the minus armor and the physical damage from Rebuke. Also can give them the Mars Arena plus Mortimer's combo, which is has been quite successful historically.
It's also a good Hunter combo with the Lion. You're asking for a high damage offlaner. Mars does bring it to the table, so yeah. It is a high execution hero, however, which might be difficult when you're in the lower brackets. Perhaps the first game is the game where you try that out.
And out comes Dawnbreaker, so I'm really glad that this hero has had her main stage moments, right? Because when we were watching groups, there was maybe 2 or 3 Dawnbreaker games played by exclusively VP, and everyone was just like, oh, she got nerfed, she's not a great support. She doesn't have to be.
The two big ones actually are the last two picks from T1. The 2 heroes I thought were going to be amazing in the group stages, and people were like, yeah, let's not pick Bane too much. And then we come to main event and it's like, boom, Bane every game or Bane every other game. Same thing for Dawn. I like that pick. I think also that might dissuade them from going for something like Mars too.
Exactly.
Because then like the Mars ult comes down, Dawnbreaker is going to be able to set up and counter initiate heavily. So maybe that might put a little bit more fear into Alliance to just look for head-on team fights, because right now it's looking a little hard for them to.
For sure, and to add on to that, this concept that they have going with this Lion and Ember is basically get in, kill a target quickly, and get out. And by having the Dawnbreaker, you can negate that. Also, Bane is quite good at killing the Ember Spirits, so they do help that a little bit. They do have the catch for him.
The fun T1 poke is, I know what, it was Curtis who likes to always say it. Now they have like a sleep into a skewer. They have like this really fun little combo. Lots of poke as well coming out from Dragon Slave. They have Shockwave, so they always gonna have good ways to just spam, take fights.
What's the logic behind the Morphling here?
It's a pretty good Morphling game.
Okay.
There is the Bane who could catch him out and kill him. That is a threat there, but in the Dawnbreaker, Lina, and Magnus, you can preemptively cast your Strength More fight, and scales better than these heroes, including the Lina. It's just that I don't feel like he's going to have the space, honestly.
It feels greedy.
Yeah.
With the 2 supports as well, like they're kind of weaker supports. I feel like his lane could be a bit hard, and in the past, also, people used to really like Lina versus Morphling, also. Like, sure, it's a little bit different. Times have changed where it's just right-clicking Lina, but it's still kind of same concept. Like, if you catch Morph in a bad situation, boom, Laguna Blade plus a double nuke. he's probably just going to die if he's out of position.
And the thing about that is you don't want to go in first with your Morphling because you could get gripped or LSA'd from Fog, right? But your Ember doesn't want to go first either because the same thing could happen to him. So they actually do have a lack of a strong, durable frontliner because neither Ember nor Morphling can fill that role for each other unless there's some kind of snowball start on the Ember.
What's the S4 hero even left, right? Shaker's gone, DK's gone, Tide's gone. It's like Beastmaster's one of the few left, but...
They've done Legion before against the Bane. We've seen how that's worked out.
Yeah.
It's a really tough matchup, especially if you have to be the one initiating, because you just get Nightmare, and that's over.
It could just be the Mars here. It doesn't really...
Well, there's no
banned as
Mars
well.
anymore.
Yeah.
So we're out of heroes.
Ooh. They're limited.
Is Centaur a possibility here? Can we run that as the tanky initiator, even if he's not the most consistent stun?
I just haven't seen Centaur at all. I
Yeah,
don't
me
know
neither.
I don't know if the hero's very good anymore.
I don't think he's good enough here, especially with the way people have been playing Lena, just building a Satanic. She absolutely shreds them and there's no concern of dying, right? It's just weird to me that they picked this Morphling over the S4 hero in their last phase up because I don't think it would have been banned out here because it doesn't look like the greatest of Morphling games. Like he does fine versus all of these heroes individually, right? He can scale. There's no kind of instant stun, but like you said, he can die from Fog. He can just get burst down if he makes one mistake.
And now they had a bunch of time to really think about what that last pick is for Savage. Just like, okay, do you want to play like a PL or something? I mean, there's an Ember, so maybe not the PL, but he can just think about his specific matchup, what he wants to play versus that Morphling. And he has a Bane, so super strong lane that he's going to have. He's going to be able to farm really well. He's not going to be pressured too much.
It's also a Savage emblematic hero, the Morphling, so he knows exactly what he hates playing against.
Exactly.
So it's a tough thing to give him time on. And Mira's completely right. If you're picking, when you have the last two picks, you have to consider what can your enemy ban in these last two bans, which is why many times you just pick the hero that you think might get banned or the position you think might get banned. And now S4 without options. I mean, I guess, the Wraith King is going to be the option. Okay.
Ooh.
What do you think of that matchup against Morphling?
So they do want to play a higher tempo game, and Wraith King does hit his timings quite early, especially if he chooses to go for some kind of armlet build, right?
Yep.
They don't want to give Morphling space to farm, but the carry matchup of Morphling to Wraith King, like Morphling destroys Wraith King, I would say. And
Especially with stats build.
it has to just be high tempo, run them over, because you look at Alliance's draft, there's not really any high cooldowns that you're afraid of. There's a mana burn from Lion, there's Chains, Ember can just keep you there. So I'm guessing they just want to steamroll them after hitting a timing.
So I need something fast. I mean, Timber is a good option. I know Brian was like screaming it over there on the left versus like the Wraith King and all that. It's not bad. It is an S4 hero, and there's just not really much left. He's gonna go for his Sanking. I feel like these lanes look super weak from Alliance. I'm worried. I've seen the Sanking struggle almost every game I've seen it played lately.
So the strength of the Sanking here is the defensive ability, right?
Yes.
He's really good at defending towers, really good just setting up Sandstorm. Hard to push the safe lane tier 1 with that, theoretically.
I would agree, and if we're gonna go on this 20-minute timing that T1 want to play for, then Sand King is one of the better heroes you can pick here, but it's pretty much because there is nothing left. However, there is the ability to stun or counter initiate, which is always going to be nice. It's just that I don't think this Sand King is going to be the one to go in first. Something Alliance do have going for their Morphling, though, is there's a lack of a natural Vessel buyer on T1.
Yeah, definitely. Did we? I don't
Simplifies
think we
the
saw
gameplay.
I don't think we saw the Dawnbreaker go for it. There is Enfeeble, which can be frustrating in later stages, but early on we've seen, most people aren't really skilling it. So I think if Alliance, if they can play fast-paced, if they don't get smashed in their lanes, they do have a good way to fight back. Because I do think T1s is a bit greedy for them to actually just it's going to take some time for them to build up this Wraith King, as we've seen. That hero's gotten nerfed several times. So Alliance, I mean, I have to just stare at lanes. Like first 10 minutes, I have to see if S4 has a decent time on this Sanking, because I've seen so many games lately as Sanking where this hero just doesn't get to play. Like it dies like 4 or 5 times in laning phase, and then you're just a single blink stun.
But there's also this potential of Alliance playing the tempo game too, depending on how lanes go, right? Because if Sand King does get the early blink and Morphling doesn't get severely pressured, he does do well individually versus these heroes, right?
Right.
And we've seen Nico maybe group up with his team early and pressure towers and not just sit back and farm triangles. That's not really his style of carry.
And you were asking earlier for a high damage offlaner. Sand King does bring that to the table. You have a decent hunting squad with the Lion and the Snapfire as well. It's really just the lanes, it seems like to me, for Alliance. That's the biggest worry.
That's really my biggest concern. If they can make it out of the lanes and if they're even, I think they can actually do a pretty good job of fighting back. As long as they just avoid team fights, be very aware of Dawnbreaker. There's a hero that not everybody's really playing so much, so just be really aware of that global potential.
Well, let's see if T1's coach March agrees with this analysis, and he also thinks that they can take them over. As we go down to Sir Action Selects, who's going to ask him some questions.
Hello, March. Thank you so much for taking time with us. Game's about to begin. Strong opener with Lena Magnus. Saw you took a little bit of time with that last pick. What was going through your head?
We were thinking between a few heroes, the carry heroes that we wanted to pick, right? And yeah, we were trying to just find the best option there.
Don't give away too much, my friend. We still have a whole best of 3. Looks like Alliance's lanes looking a little weak. Do you expect your boys to take advantage of that?
Yep, I think their lanes are weak, but they have a better late game going in with Stanking and Morphling, so I think our team wants to take advantage of that.
All right, well, best of luck. We will see if they will as our game begins. Let's throw it to the casters.
Thank you, Sir Action Slacks. Alliance versus T1. Sunspan with Cinderin, best of 3. And this is for elimination, Cinderin. Whoever loses this is out. Winner moves on a little bit further at TI-10.
Into top 8. So
yes.
Obviously, starting in that upper bracket, which T1 did, is the blessing. You skip 1 round of the lower bracket, but we've seen many times at TI teams looking hot going into the upper bracket. They lose their first set, they drop down, lose again, and that is a fate you really don't want to face. When you feel like you came in a good position, you can get knocked out almost just as quickly if things go awry. So looking to take this series against Alliance, of course. I think fair to say, based on how groups went and how the upper bracket went for T1 against LGD, taking at least a game against the Juggernauts. T1 probably fair to assess them as the overall favorites in this matchup. But Alliance have been picking up a little bit of momentum, obviously going off that win yesterday. And you heard in the pregame the discussion about how S4 has said they've learned a lot from the group stage. And Alliance is one of those teams that can, they can pick up some momentum. They can learn from their mistakes, and obviously, it is a tough matchup today. But
You think, I mean, when you're playing group stage, not everybody's really scouting each other as closely because you're playing a ton of games and a ton of teams at the same time. But when it gets to this stage, there's a lot of prep that goes in for this specific team. Alliance has a little bit more time to work with, I would say. But T1 obviously coming from upper bracket, they're obviously disappointed that they lost that best of 3, but should be an exciting matchup nonetheless. And of course, Alliance is, I mean, they were the top EU team overall because of, what was it, #1 in each DPC season, like going into the major.
Yeah, unfortunately for Alliance, their showings at the actual majors weren't what they had hoped. Just basically just bombed out both times. So obviously for them, they have a lot to prove here. And yeah, the whole thing about prep, I think, is pretty important. If you do talk about Dota with S4, he's a very intelligent player. The way he thinks about the game, I think he's a huge part of why Alliance won back at TI3. Just this overall understanding of macro movements in the game. Yeah. Alliance were outstanding in that tournament. It's obviously many years ago, but they kind of, I wouldn't say they pioneered split pushing because that was a concept that was known from back in Dota 1.
They perfected it.
But they mastered it at that event, and they did such a great job just playing the map at a different level from other teams that eventually they got caught up to, and then they started losing in subsequent tournaments after TI, but I think S4 really a clever player. So hopefully the prep that he has done going into this will show. But so far so good for T1 in the lanes, I would say. Carl in the mid lane, Lena against Ember. You know, this reminds me of a game we had yesterday. Was it Emo who played Ember against Shadow Fiend from Team Spirit? That was 2 days ago by now. Time flies when you're having fun. But it was the IG versus Team Spirit series in the upper bracket, where Emo got a last pick Ember into a known Shadow Fiend. Yeah. So picked it into a losing lane, but they assessed that it was still worth it for its overall potential impact on the game, and they did end up winning that game, obviously. Limp in a similar situation here. Lena's a tough matchup. You're not going to win this lane ever if the players are equally matched. And I think Carl against Limp is a pretty fair lane matchup overall in terms of just raw lane mechanical skill. So I would imagine Carl will be pulling ahead here.
Yep, I mean, relatively even to start things out, but of course it is early, like you said. They're going to get each respective water rune. Nico Baby this time around will be playing the Morphling in this bot lane, and we can talk a bit about Dawnbreaker, who gets canceled there. FNG, Shockwave brings him back in, and Zephyr secures the first blood with that last right click.
When you're playing these squishy 5s against against Dawnbreaker, you need to be quick on your fingers. You need to be ready for that play to come. As soon as the Celestial Hammer goes out, you have to stun her. Hanskin hesitated for too long there, or sorry, FNG, not Hanskin. Let's focus on the right player here. Hesitated for too long with that Earth Spike and ended up taking 2 attacks from the Starbreaker.
Yeah.
That needs to get stopped instantly. As soon as the hammer gets thrown, you have to stun, and gets punished there, and Zephyr manages to get first blood. Very good for the Dawnbreaker. We'll be getting boots as a reward. This hero is exceptionally good at chasing down heroes because it's just so strong in lane. So with these freshly picked up boots, look for Zephyr to just go aggressive.
Now he's going to take some damage here, but we've talked about the Dawnbreaker support in the past, and some lineups feel a little iffy, as it were, especially as a support. Obviously, she's going to be very good in the laning stage, as we're seeing right now, but this game in particular, there are a lot of stuns that set up her ultimate for the later stage of the game. You have the Nightmare, you have the Fiend's Grip, obviously. LSA is pretty low cooldown, Wraith, Fire Blast as well, and then the huge RP. So literally every hero can theoretically set up the Solar Guardian, which I think you and I agree is probably the most important aspect of that hero going mid-game and beyond.
Absolutely.
Top lane, Whitemon going to get caught out, takes considerable amount of damage, but will live through it. Nightmare into the Wraith Fire Blast now is 23 Savage, blocking S4. He will be able to walk away as those little skelly buddies are chasing him.
The boys, as we call them.
The boys. I think that's copyrighted by a TV show, Sindrin.
Oh.
Can't say that.
Okay. Well, hopefully they're not watching that. There's probably not that much overlap between the writers of that TV show and TI, but you never know.
You never know.
You get surprised sometimes with where people's interests lie. So,
especially you.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know what that was supposed to mean.
Because you have no interest. That was the joke. Zephyr makes his way to the top lane. Wraith Fire Blast into the Starbreaker. The Burrow Strike is there in time for S4. But he's going to take so much damage from that hammer.
I think one saving grace for Alliance here against the Dawnbreaker ult, like we talked about, yes, you have a lot of good combos with it, but it's not a good Ags game at the very least. There's no hero on Alliance that really suffers against that 60% evasion. Morphling a lot of the time can, go for more of a magic-based build with the E-Blade. And I think waveform, attack talent, and all this stuff that comes way later in the game, I think can't miss, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually not 100% on that. Good waveform bottom. Aggressive play out to Cuckoo.
Looks like Cuckoo might take a tumble here. Has his skewer available, but is just completely stun locked by Alliance, who get their first kill of the game and this series.
Yeah, they can easily take advantage of that. With the Dawnbreaker rotation top, they know they're 2v1. Lion, one of the best supports in the game, 2v1. Not that good 2v2, especially as a 5, but whenever you outnumber, you just have so much lockdown for your carry to just go to town. They do kill Cuckoo's mag, so he has still managed to almost find level 5 down here, so I don't think Cuckoo is too concerned. The game plan is coming along nicely. Lina and Wraith King are having total free games, basically. So, not the biggest of deals, but obviously Alliance will take what they can get in these lanes.
Now Whitemon not able to secure the rune. Limp will still get that invisibility. As looking at the overall CS here, let me bring it up real quick. Wraith King sitting at 38 and 10 versus the 33 and 8 of the Morphling, so relatively even. Of course, 23 Savage will eventually go into the jungle. This is the thing I like about Wraith King as a position 1. It kind of creates space for some, like a position for like Dawnbreaker theoretically to get some farm once he enters that jungle.
Yeah.
Semi full time, if that's even a word. We'll just go it.
Full time. That's called part time, I believe.
Part time job as S4 gets the Burrow Strike off. Whitemon taking some damage, but the cookie ends up saving S4 for about 2 seconds, but Zephyr is there to clean up yet again. Seems to be everywhere, and he doesn't even have his ult yet.
No, he has a lot of freedom to move. Cuckoo is doing such a good job playing alone down here. He's almost level 6, so you don't even feel bad about this if you're Zephyr. Might even end up killing Hanskin here if Limp doesn't come over to help.
He's going for it. Limp
he has
in the
the hammer.
And not going to pursue any further. Cuckoo getting some mana drained here. Has to skewer out to safety. That means he's completely depleted.
Surely Zephyr doesn't do this, right? Okay. It almost looked like he was going to try to dive him in the face.
It's 7 minutes. Yeah.
Learned from Cuckoo from yesterday. Just go for it, and then if you fail, you just write, we need wards. So
that's true.
He didn't have a ward.
That is the play. Earth Spike into the waveform. Cuckoo looks to be done again. So 2 kills in this lane for Alliance.
Yeah.
Nico Baby and company starting to get back into this game, which, I mean, it's not like it's out of reach by any means, but T1 definitely off to a slightly better start right now.
And Nico claiming that is very, very good for his economy. 250 extra gold here. Getting the treads flown out now. very curious to see what build he goes for, right? Because as the draft panel pointed out, there are some aspects of this game that can be dangerous to Morphling. So you could maybe see him go for something like a Lincoln Sphere against Bane, which isn't necessarily ideal. Okay, FNG in trouble.
Starbreaker not going to fully connect on FNG. Limp gets the nice cookie, stun, and the regen rune, and Carl just getting kited around. Another kill goes the way of Alliance. Is FNG taking some harassment, but looks like he will live through the day thanks to the support of the rest of his team.
Yeah, great rotation there. Bringing Hanskin was crucial to killing off the Lina. They're going to smoke here in full vision, though. So T1 definitely know that this is happening. Let's see if they guess the right move, though. FNG mana burning here. Zephyr's going to walk right into him.
Yeah, the fact that Zephyr is level 4 despite being involved in so many kills is kind of weird, actually. Feels like he should be a higher level right now, but
he hasn't taken much lane. That's what you trade off when you leave the off lane, right? It's that you give the Magnus the solo experience, and while kills are nice, if you don't soak up any lane space, you don't progress, right? So I think now that Zephyr is showing mid, he might even sit here all the way until level 6, because Bane will need the tome in this game. So might just park him here. As you pointed out, top lane is also an option. You could just put the Dawnbreaker in the safe lane, put Wraith King into the jungle. But this way you're definitely going to get more gold on Wraith King if you let him take the lane and the big camp. But S4 making sure that is not the case here. Digging that up with a bounty, getting a bounty rune out of his good old shovel. He's going to get dusted.
Whitemon with a quick burrow strike. There's the stun from Zephyr. And S4 looks to be mega dead here. Actually does a nice job of sidestepping the Starbreaker, but it just delays the inevitable here.
And keep in mind, this is a Sand King with Vanguard against the Wraith King Skeletons, and he still dies. So you can't really be tankier than this at this point, a Sand King with a Soul Ring Vanguard, but it's just not enough against these 3 heroes. Alliance looking a little bit lost over here in the triangle, I gotta say. They've been standing here for quite a long time, and they're just on top of a ward, so essentially kind of wasting their time. They obviously don't know this, but T1 are just not gonna go there. And you understand what Alliance are thinking. You're playing against a lineup that has Magnus Wraith King. You're assuming there's going to be big Ancient stacks, but T1 honestly haven't really paid much attention to that area just yet. So I don't know if this is going to be something we see developing as like a new meta almost, where teams, because of the anticipation that the opposite team are going to invade your triangle, you just don't focus on it that much early unless you feel like you can clearly defend it. Then you just
like
don't
the next
stack.
level thinking, essentially.
Right, then you can't
Nightmare,
steal
LSA, here comes the Solar Guardian as well, but S4 able to get the burrow strike off in time to at least create a little bit of distance, but again, completely outnumbered with 4 members of T1 in the vicinity.
He is now 0-4. It was what Fogg was talking about. This happens in a lot of games for offlane Sand King, especially if he's left alone. And now, finally, all right, FNG, I think, took the Tome of Knowledge, so he's going to make a move with Limp. They have Finger of Death. Could very easily burst anyone they find, except Wraith King, who can, of course, put a point in the ultimate. They will find Carl. That would be a very big pick.
Yeah, this would be a huge one. It looks like it's going to be an easy one on top of that. FNG gets his first Finger stack of the game. Now some pressure being applied to this tier 1 mid in favor of Alliance.
Great move here. They do that in connection with the Siege Creep being alive mid, and FNG is going to tank this at least for a bit. Okay, Mortimer Kisses.
Searing Chains with the Mortimer's Kisses. Look, it's from super long range. Great anticipation as well. Alliance.
Very,
the tier
very
1
nice
as well.
From Alliance, yeah, getting the mid tower out of that original smoke move onto the Lina. That's a very high value play. More or less equalizing the game with that, actually. They were starting to fall 2k gold behind, but found a lot out of that. And of course, let's keep in mind, Nico Baby is getting a lot of space as well. Opting to go for first item Skadi here. Interesting choice.
Wow,
obviously.
first item. Well, after Morbid Mask, but that's... I don't know if I've ever seen that, actually.
It's not the most common build. A lot of the times you see Morph getting some sort of a build-up item, like sometimes you get Yasha, sometimes you get a full Manta, sometimes you see the Diffusal if it's a good game for that.
Super good Skadi game against Wraith King, Dawnbreaker, and the likes, as Bane's going to be taken out. FNG, though,
God,
Savage. Yep. 3 shots from him.
I love Armlet on Wraith King. It is such a good item. Whatever you go after, if it's the Silver Edge build or the Deso, or I guess in some edge cases Radiance, I really like the Armlet first. You just hit such a strong peak already 10 minutes in with these 2 items. You saw him basically 2-shotting Lion there with that massive crit. 270% critical strike damage on a 4-second cooldown is no joke.
That's the old CK skill, too. They kind of swapped.
Yeah.
Poor CK. I guess people are more have an affinity towards Wraith King more than CK these days anyway.
Yeah. Well, what they did do for CK, though, they increased the chance, right? I think at some point the critical strike was 11% chance. Now it's 33, and the numbers were obviously tweaked.
11? Are you sure about
I'm pretty
that?
sure it used to be that. It's a long time
11?
ago. We're both old.
I'm going to say 18, just
Okay,
the
so
one
here's one of
person
the
in
perks
chat
of
that's
being
going to
old,
check
okay?
this
You
out.
have a lot of things you can remember. You also have a lot of things you can't remember, and a lot of things you might misremember, which makes for great conversation. Because sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but at the very least, people are talking.
Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and you're always an idiot as well.
Yeah,
so.
that is true. That comes with getting older.
Indeed. My bottom lane, tier 1 tower getting harassed a bit here as Limp and company.
This could be a strong
in
flank
the area.
for
Yeah, we're seeing a
T1.
flank now from T1. 23 Savage.
Someone's in trouble.
Handskin in the trees. If they can get Limp, that'll be the high priority target. Looks like it'll be Handskin instead. The rest of his team abandons him, but with good reason.
Alliance dipping there with 1 death is very good. Considering what angle T1 got there and how Alliance's heroes were positioned, that could have gone way worse if 23 Savage could have found a higher priority target.
Question is, does T1 actually want to push this? Because S4 looks to be mounting some sort of a defense. S4 not too far away from a Blink Dagger himself. This wave will almost ensure that he picks that up, in fact. And with that, likely to try to get something started. And of course, this is the beauty of Zephyr, like you talked about so many times. Or I should say, Dawnbreaker.
1 time.
Well, we know we've talked about
Actually,
this.
twice. I did talk about it twice.
We've had a couple games here.
See, that's one of the perks of being old. You can just make, you know, was
Where
it once
am
or
I?
twice? I don't know. You talked about it a lot, you know.
Anyway, to finish the thought that you rudely interrupted,
Sorry.
Solar Guardian just allows you to be everywhere. It's like a mini haunt.
Oh, not this
It's
again.
like a haunt on a support hero. You can push the lanes really easily and then join the fight whenever.
Yep.
And if you die, it's really not that big of a deal.
All right, so if you're confused about what he just said, the point he's making is it's a global ability, okay? That was the point of the haunt. It has nothing else in
Thank
common
you,
with that
Synderen.
ability.
I really appreciate
It
that.
is global.
Kuko, he's going to skewer as a fish. Will be out as a result. S4 has the Burrow Strike to cancel the TP, and Hanskin and company should be able to clean up Bane pretty easily. It actually reminds me,
mid tower
Synderen,
though.
the extension was updated today with a bunch of new features, one of which was the most, community out, well, what am I trying to say? The one that people wanted the most, which is the top bar has the skills videos as well.
Very
So
nice.
if you don't understand a word that we're trying to actually explain in terms of the abilities, you can look for yourself. Makes our job a lot easier. Also takes
eventually
over our
in the
job to
future
some
we won't
degree.
need to say anything. It will just be,
Yeah.
all of it will be in the tool.
That's right.
The tool
It'll
will just start communicating as
yeah,
well.
I
It
think
will
we can
it will
get to that
cast
point.
for us.
Yeah, the AI will take over one
Yep.
day. I think we agree on this. You could be the leader of that. S4 pushing out that bot lane. We're just going to see the steering chains here. I don't think that Alliance wants to push 2K net worth lead for T1 though, as looks like BKB just about to be finished on Carl.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the go time for each respective team? Because we have the Blink Dagger on S4. We don't have the Blink quite yet on Kuku. He went for the Helm, which we've been seeing a lot in this tournament.
Like you said, the dagger is coming out to Magnus.
Okay,
So
it's on its way.
He
Great.
does have the dagger.
But what's the go time?
T1's timing is really, really strong right now, actually. They got Dagger, BKB, as well as the Deso on Wraith King, so there are a lot of potential plays opening up for them right now. I think looking for the bottom tier 1 tower and maybe even finding a fight would be great, and then you can think about Roshan, perhaps. Wraith King, pretty good hero at killing Rosh.
Yeah.
So, especially with this item build. Alliance, what do they have coming up? So Morph is going to get the Scotty.
Yep, skewer back from Kuku.
Oh, he's dead.
Continue your thought, please.
Yep, so Scotty coming up on Morph. Ember is going Kaya Sanj with brown boots. Not sure how good that's going to be in this game for Limp, but obviously he is very far behind the Lina, so perhaps you just need to get a little bit creative with which direction you go in. And those are pretty much the big items. F&G only 300 away from a Blink, as a matter of fact, so maybe he can get that too. As 5 Lion, that's not a bad timing.
No.
Around 18 minutes, pretty good.
It looks like T1 will finally get this tier 1 bot.
Oh, Nico baby.
Oh, LSA
They have a
is
lot
going to
of burst.
connect. There's a Fiend's Grip from afar as well. Laguna Blade finishes off Nico baby. Hanskin trying to take out the tower, but it's very healthy.
For lack of a better word, that seemed a bit naive, almost. It's obvious from our perspective with the vision that we have, but you're pushing the top tier 1 tower with only Snapfire protecting you, not something like a Blink Sand King that can instantly interrupt spells like Grip there or counter the Lina. But also T1 weren't really showing that many heroes to inspire you with the confidence to go for that play. So I think Alliance bit over a little bit more than they could chew there. And yeah, what did T1 effectively use? Only really Fiend's Grip. Laguna Blade is a low cooldown. That's going to be ready again. They still have RP. I think if you're T1 and you find this double damage rune here, you're like, all right, let's just go Roche.
Yep.
Your team fight is available. So.
And we're going to have a smoke from Alliance. We'll see if they find a kill here. Sleight of Fist going to dodge some spells from Carl.
Oh my
23
God.
Savage jumps in, and it's going to be a very quick kill on the Hanskin. In the meantime, Epicenter goes up, but there's the RP to counter it. And T1 taking 3 kills for themselves and taking basically no damage in this engagement.
Yeah, 23 Savage almost one-shot a Snapfire with Medallion.
Double damage as well.
They even find Nico,
Nightmare.
baby.
Does get off the attribute shift, though. It's wow.
Boy.
Yeah, double damage still there for 23 Savage, and into the Roche pit they go. T1 starting to run away with things.
Yeah, this is starting to get really ugly. They're just flat out outclassing Alliance right now. These last 5 minutes have not been pretty. They kind of equalized the early game Alliance did after having a tough lane mid, but haven't really been able to find much momentum from Limp on the Ember Spirit. And the games we've seen Ember win in this tournament have largely been off. You know, you get out of lane, either you do very well or you at least stay afloat, and then the team sets up moves for you. Your hero is very high tempo, can do a lot, but it just hasn't really been the case for Alliance here. So you see the smoke and broken, rather.
Boom.
Not broke. Just okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
They even find Limp bottom here in the picture-in-picture bottom right. Not sure if our observer found Limp, but
his dead body somewhere.
We can pinpoint the position of the corpse.
I mean,
in
he's
that bottom
specifically having a pretty rough game. 8K net worth versus the 10.5 from Lina.
Oh, Hanskin. Good ward placement. He will get some info and actually survive this, perhaps. It's going on quite the walk.
Yep, LSA, Carl trying to find some more. TPs from Alliance are coming in, but the double burrow strike S4. BKB pop by Carl, though, and FNG is just going to go down to the right clicks. Nico Baby trying to find some sort of collateral kill here. Whitemon's just going to nightmare him, and 23 Savage in the vicinity, completely surrounded as Nico Baby. And 4 dead for Alliance, although technically Ember died quite a while before that. Hanskin, the last remaining member for now, attempting to TP. Will be fine. And T1 just dominating this game number 1 of this best of 3. And again, if you're just joining us, this is an elimination series.
Yeah, crucial there, right? They go for the tower dive, S4 with a very good TP and Sandstorm double stun, but where's the follow-up? The other heroes just aren't in position. The way this starts is as a 10-second dive on Snapfire. They're taking so long to get in behind the tower and in position. You need more resources there. Like, if you want to take this fight, you need all the key heroes ready. You know you're behind in the game. You're not going to win fights 3v5. So either you bring the whole cavalry or you just drop it and lose a hero there. But Alliance tried to do a bit of both, and that's just not going to cut it at this level. And T1, they're doing a great job at administering their heroes, bringing them all around together, finding the team moves. And, I mean, it's easy to say what Alliance have to do. It's a lot harder to do it.
Yeah, as you can see, the win probability greatly in favor of T1 as expected after getting off to this really, really fast start.
Yep. Gabe Newell's favorite hero used to be Sand King, as we've talked about before.
That is true.
That's the 6%. He moved on from it, right?
Oh, okay. 23 Savage. Yep, easy kill for him again.
They will find
all right, that
Carl,
is a big kill for Alliance onto Carl. That's exactly what they need here. But unfortunately for them, 23 Savage still applying pressure to the tier 2 mid.
Yeah, it's gone.
And it's just going to go down. Aegis hasn't even been claimed yet. Oh wait. Yeah,
this item on Wraith King is so good. Brigand's Blade, the neutral, because your first hit does so much damage that you immediately get into the threshold where it starts mattering really quickly. Crazy good. Okay, trivia.
Huskar.
Trivia.
Huskar's the answer.
Trivia after this fight.
All right, we got. That's not much of a fight. FNG's dead. Nico Baby waveforming to safety. 23 Savage and company not going to pursue any further.
You sure
Whitemon, okay, he gets a Fiend's Grip off. This will be another big kill for T1. Nope, Starbreaker not able to connect. He's going to be able to remnant it away for now. Escort taking so much damage will just be brought down to the right clicks alone. Whitemon finally dies. Such a pesky Bane Elemental. And Alliance getting some trades here.
Yeah, that's pretty good for Alliance given the circumstances. So you get a kill. Nico Baby gets 2, actually. He gets Cuckoo as well as White Mon, so it's going to make some item progression here.
Yep.
Eyeing up a Linken's, this doesn't feel like a very strong build to me, just because, like, you're going to have these stats, but you don't have that massive combo play with, say, a Sand King when you go Ags, or some massive damage output from an E-Blade. So I'm just worried that the damage isn't going to be there when T1's heroes get a little bit bigger. That's going to be my main concern.
Is this one of those instances where when you're behind, you want to take more risks to try to get back into the game, and going Linken's just feels too safe almost?
It's the thing, you know, I love to say this, you're playing not to lose rather than playing to win. And playing not to lose in this day and age in Dota rarely works in my experience. If you're behind, you need to go for let's say you have 15% chance of winning with a play, right? If it's the best chance you have, you take it even though the odds are terrible. Because the alternative is even worse, which is you don't go for it and then you just lose by default. And that is something I think, you know, not that we're going to be talking a lot about public games or anything, but I think that's a mentality that people are not particularly good at adapting to in their public games, is that if you're far behind, hiding away is not a winning strategy pretty much ever, unless the enemy team is going to throw in your base.
Which happens.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the level
more
of
often
play,
in
right?
pubs than in pro play, though, right? So
it depends on the level of play, of course, but yeah, sometimes you just got to take the risk even if the odds aren't good. Carl will be spotted up by S4. Well, who found who, actually?
Yeah, that's a good question. FNG jumps in. Comes a Solar Guardian, though, and just like that, T1 is here in numbers. FNG sacrificing himself to the gods here as S4 gets horn tossed and likely will be brought down next. So 2 quick kills for T1. And Alliance attempting to get out of dodge, but Hanskin gonna get spotted out. 23 Savage. Yeah, his arm length is apparently goes through Fog of War.
All right, here's my trivia. If you know this, what is something you would really want me to give you if you're right? I'm very confident you don't know this.
Okay, a Snickers.
A Snickers, okay. If you're right, you'll get... All right, that's some free product placement right there.
True, I'll get you a Noble
What
chair.
is the name of the passive of Brigand's Blade?
The passive?
Yeah, the effect that it
There's
has.
no way. It's like something Mercy.
It's called Dark Mercy. That was pretty
Yeah, I remember reading it. I couldn't remember the first word.
No idea. That's pretty good. You can get half a bar for that.
All right,
That's pretty
you.
impressive.
Are you going to eat the first?
If
I
that
don't
gets
want
you
that.
all excited, I will do it. I will do that for you. I'm a good friend.
So you say.
Oh, that's actually a Jenkins quote. Let's pretend I never said that.
True. So T1, yeah, this is shellacking for sure so far. Question is, what can Alliance do? They're going for that safe build on Nico Bay with the Lincoln Sphere. And really limp his build. It feels like, I mean, he has the BKB, which is really needed. The casual Sage with Maelstrom helps you farm, but
Nico is queuing up a Satanic next time.
Really?
Again, it's I'm just worried about the damage, right? Like, Ember went Sanj into BKB.
Well, I think, no, he's still going Lincolns, though, right? He has the ultimate orb.
He's queued it as his next quick buy, which usually when pro players do that is like, okay, the thought process is there, right? You're like, okay, this is the next thing I want. I think looking at Alliance's lineup, there's still a lot of value to an E-Blade, just because if you get a Blink Hex from Lion onto, say, Lina, you can actually burst someone instantly with all of the magic damage you have, but you're not really taking advantage of it. The downside to that kind of build is, well, where's your physical component in a lineup that's almost purely magical? So then that would be a problem. But this way you have neither, kind of, right? Yeah. The Morphling can play to survive, but he's not really going to kill, I think. So worrying here for Alliance. But of course, if they do win one fight because Morph survives and turns it around, then maybe they can find...
Quick Hex. S4. No, not going to go for the Epi.
Yeah. Good damage onto 23 Savage, but one of the great boons to Wraith King is this lifesteal. So 2 hits on the wave heals a lot.
And Nico Baby now with the Lincolns online. And yeah, a lot of, I mean, I guess not a lot. There's a decent amount of single target skills from T1 to take that off. But from Bane, it just takes so long to cast, right? Even in Feeble, it's a bit of a process, and especially against something like Morph. I can see the thought process for sure.
The cast point of Enfeeble is actually not that bad.
Did they? I guess they They've changed that skill so much.
Yeah, I think it's a while ago that got changed, but it's always been considered a good Linken's Breaker skill just because it's high cast range and it's such a, I don't want to say unimportant spell, but you know what I mean, right? You're not throwing away your Nightmare to break a Linken so you don't have it defensively. This is one of the best spells in the game, in my opinion, against Linken. So all Whitemon needs to do is have good positioning, break the Linkens with the Enfeeble, and then he can look for Fiend Script or Nightmare, whatever he wants to do on that morph. All right, Burrow Strike.
S4, 23 Savage.
They are poking him quite well here.
Nice armlet toggle for now. He has the Deso going for the AC next.
Very close.
He will live.
Good out.
Of course, he does have 2 lives, so it'll be difficult to take him out regardless.
All right, Sunsven, trivia.
Oh, boy.
For the second half of your Mar. What is the passive of Dragon Scale?
That I have no idea. Let's say armor.
You know, based on some of the naming conventions we've had recently, that's not a bad guess. It is called Afterburn.
Yeah, I would not. That sounds like a shaving product almost. As we have Alliance.
Do you want to advertise some more things here? What's the plan?
Not ready to go out quite yet. Cinderin is Alliance trying to do something here against T1, but the longer they wait, the more the deficit becomes, it seems. And Limp will just be TPing out for now, but has a Remnant available to come back into the fight if he wants.
That is a tanky courier. 23 Savage will get his Elven Tunic.
Yeah, and completed
What is
AC.
the passive of Elven Tunic?
I don't look at...
It doesn't have one. It was a trick question.
Well, technically it does have a passive.
It has 3 passives, but no name.
No names. Yeah.
All right.
Understood.
Dewarding here. 23.
Oh my God!
Woo!
Holy jeez! Gaben Lord Almighty.
Literal one-shot.
FNG. That hurt me.
You know, you're used to expecting this out of a PA in this stage of the game, but Wraith King essentially right now, that is the Wraith King version of one dagger and I'm die.
Yeah. I don't know,
Just
29 minutes
literal
PA?
one shot.
I don't expect that still. Maybe 39.
With Mag on the team and a Deso? I don't know. I think I would kind of expect that.
Okay, well.
We have different levels of expectancy. I guess the PAs in your game don't have the same items at minute 29.
That's right, Cinderin S4 trying to mount some sort of a defense here, but this is with the Aegis online for Carl. Obviously, Wraith King doesn't need one. Although we do see them take it relatively often, but I like to see it on the Lina this game. Considerable amount of damage done to that tier 3 top, and T1 going to reset.
Carl hits really hard with this Empower. I think in a way it's still underappreciated when we commentate Empower. We are always focused on the melee heroes that get cleaves, so they can farm Ancients, etc. But having any hero that just attacks a lot inherently just gives Empower value, even if it's ranged, right? Alina has insane attack speed, so she's probably one of the best Empower heroes in the meta right now, actually. Better than some melee heroes. Oh my god,
oh boy, the hacks.
Look at the damage.
LSA's not going to hit though, Carl.
Oh.
One of the few mistakes from T1 this game. Pretty much a masterful performance thus far.
Oh.
But they won't sweat it, I'm sure, as this lead is
the chat wheel game is on point. No mistake there. Playing the sad trombone is very appropriate there.
Yep. Oh, we got the horn toss with the skewer into the RP. S4 is going to be the first to fall in all likelihood. Nico Baby staying alive at half. We'll get up to safety. So just 1 kill with that RP, but Carl Pasta BKB gets the LSA with a buyback onto S4 now. Starbreaker connect, here comes a Solar Guardian as well. Nico Baby, very tanky right now with that Linken Sphere. Nice Burrow Strike Epicenter combination from S4. Zephyr trying to get to safety with that hammer, but it's not going to happen. So the 1-for-1 with the buyback. Carl and company, looks like they're going to lose the Dawn Break at the very least. S4 continuing to be a pest here with these Burrow Strikes. Gets 1 kill. Looks like Wraith King is next. That's after the reincarnation, so T1 have to back off.
That's a very
nice
good
defense
hold
from Alliance.
Yeah, they only had to use a Sand King buyback and all of that. Arguably, maybe, you know, Carl getting a little bit overzealous trying to kill the Morph. As we've talked about, it's a tanky Morphling, and you don't necessarily have to kill Nico Baby in a position like that. You can safely, you know, go for other heroes that die a lot faster or try to push the tower, but got a little bit bloodthirsty. You can get carried away in these positions, and again, this RP is good, but great counterplay from Hanskin to get that double Earth Spike. Lina didn't pre-BKB for this. And that will save Nico Baby getting him out. And this is where the overcommitment happens, right? So you go for this, go very, very deep. Solar Guardian, I believe, got interrupted here by another good 2-hero stun from FNG. And now you're just in a really compromised position. Limp also
not only
doing tons
is
of damage here.
Morphling tanky, but he's not really doing that much damage. It's not like he went the E-Blade build or anything like that, so you can just go for the other kills.
And now Nico has the item I like to see. He's got the Axe. So now he can turn into Sand King, and that's big. This gives them a double Burrow Strike combination play.
Yep.
Oh, he needs to be careful. He's taking so much damage from Carl.
He is, but looks like he's fine for now. His Limp creating a lot of space here, but the Laguna Blade, S4 a little bit too far this time.
Yeah, and he doesn't have buyback, and T1 obviously know this. They just bought back in the enemy base, so this does open up a potential push down mid play for them.
And that actually is pretty big because Morphling can't turn into Sand King
Carl
now.
found Limp with a blink stun.
The Centaur stop not going to be there in time. Limp, BKB attempting to TP, but the RP cancel. Down he goes. Does have buyback though. Still a minute 20 left on the Aegis for T1. But best case scenario for Alliance, this is a 5 versus 4 once this buyback comes out. But like I said, Morphling can't turn to the Sand King for another 40 seconds, so this Ag, like, Snapfire could be good later in the game. I don't even know. Do the talents even... Does that work through talents once you get the little shredder thing? As this Rax is going to be a complete freebie for T1.
So fast. Like, Lina is just an absolute artillery. That's not really the right word. Machine gun was what I was looking for. Going straight in for the
Synderen, your favorite. Carl, Laguna Blade, down goes Snapfire. They're trying to preserve the buyback. Nope, not anymore. That's 2 right off the bat here. And you can see S4 will be back in 10 seconds, but it's going to be 2 full sets of racks for T1.
Yeah. And they might back off here and wait for the next RP. You don't have to risk any push here in order to finish the game. If you wait 50 seconds, you might feel like it's pretty much in the bag. Gaben giving Alliance 1% here.
Okay.
Very gracious.
I mean, to be fair, S4 in that original high ground defense did a really good job.
Gives them 0. He's had enough.
Oh, boy.
You started talking about Sand King, and Gaben was like, I don't like this hero anymore. So there goes your last percent. Thanks, Sunsfan. You ruin everything you touch, don't you?
That's true.
Yeah, okay.
Aegis is now
kind of
claimed.
like Kyle with predictions.
Yeah, that's actually an uncanny skill that he has.
That's pretty impressive.
And T1 looking to finish this game, although no Aegis to work with now, and Alliance obviously know that, and this is going to be their best chance to win a fight. Look for Nico Baby to morph into S4 soon.
I bet Kyle, I challenge you, Kyle, to tweet right now. T1 has this in the bag.
Yeah.
Let's see how strong the curse is. If you do that and T1 end up losing, you will get a candy bar of your choice from me.
Of your choice? Wow. He might
There
not have time to actually take out his
and
phone.
maybe quite exquisite and expensive candy bars out there if you know where to look. So it's a lot to gain here for Kyle, and no risk even.
That's true. Well, the risk is ruining his image of getting everything wrong.
That's true. That's actually pretty valuable to him, I think.
I think so too. He's really enjoying that.
Yep. Has to be fun.
T1 looks like they're ready to go and trying to finish this game. S4 wants to defend. We'll see how much they have in the tank here. Oh. T1 going to be happy with the tier 3. We'll back and reset.
Roche can respawn in 2 minutes. If you want to, you can wait for this.
I can't blame them. I mean, this is TI.
High stakes.
TI 10, lower bracket. Another shout out. You can actually check the bracket right now. That's a new addition to the extension. If you go to the standings, it shows the full bracket. Very nicely done.
Okay, Sunsfan, I have a trivia for you.
Oh, boy.
What is the passive
Enough with these passives
of Mindbreaker called? I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
You like very simple names.
Silence.
That's the first word. What is the second word?
Is it silent something?
Yes.
Silent strike.
Silence strike. Okay, you get your
full
point. That's a really good guess.
Thank you.
All right.
Beautiful.
Definitely didn't look over my shoulder there and cheated the test.
I would never do that.
No, you actually didn't, did you? I trust you.
Why would I?
You have so much to gain from this.
No, I'd like to look like an
Your
idiot,
image.
actually.
Oh, that's true. You and Kyle should start a team.
Maybe we should start a new podcast together. Might be an opening pretty soon. Is 31K net worth lead for T1. And definitely playing a little bit disciplined. Cuckoo.
Horn toss.
Yep, Horn toss is there, and S4 is dead. 60 seconds on the deck.
That skewer range talent
buyback.
is so absurd. Like, you're expecting that skewer to stop any second now, and it just keeps going.
Yeah. I mean, this feels like, I mean, you talk about Elder Titan. I feel like Magnus feels like the hero of the tournament right now in a lot of ways.
Is doing very well.
Getting through a lot. As you see the overwhelming blink come in. We didn't even catch that on camera, but a lot of damage being done by T1. And it looks like the Fiend's grip is there as GG's will come out for game 1. This was a shellacking, Synderen.
Yeah.
T1 up 1-0.
As no need to sugarcoat it, really. That was just... That was not even close.
Okay.
That was just not even close. T1 basically T1 came out of a stronger laning stage. Alliance had a couple of good moves in the first 10 minutes, but after that it was just all T1 all the way to the bank. And they secure themselves game number 1 with a 39k gold lead here. Alliance, I think, adjustments for game number 2, you probably, if you're drafting like this and you give the enemy team Magnus and you give them like the strong team fight and a favorable mid matchup, you have to play around Limp more. Like this needs to go faster. Or you need to take a different approach to the draft entirely where you feel confident just taking time for yourself. It was just T1 dictating everything in that game and just doesn't cut it. You need to challenge them. You need to get... This is what's most important at this level of play. Don't let the enemy team be comfortable, right? And they were just comfortable the whole time. T1 just looked in their element the whole game.
Well, still, just one game. They can try to shake this off. They have a lot of experience, of course, but this is a best-of-3 Cinderman. But let's see what the panel has to say about this first game going to T1.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see Cinder and also rocking the maroon hashtag Team Merlot. But we've got to start by seeing if you guys agree with our lovely casters there. Do you think Alliance played well in the first 10 minutes, Owen?
I mean, it was better than the other minutes of the game. So, relatively sure. But, I mean, overall, it was what I expected. And it was more so what I expected when they let them get this Magnus and Lina. I mean... I don't know how you can expect to beat T1 on the main stage when you let them have these 2 heroes, which have clearly been their best heroes so far of the tournament. I guess they wanted an impossible challenge. They certainly got it that game.
They did talk about the reason they beat Beast Coast as being their preparation and not feeling any pressure. So why on earth wouldn't they ban that Magnus after watching LGD yesterday?
There's just too many heroes that you need to be banning. Maybe that's the thing, right? Like versus Zephyr, you need to ban out that ET earlier that every single team is banning or picking. Then you have the Doom, then you have the 23 Savage, Medusa. There's just too many components here that they're thinking of. Maybe they thought, okay, this is probably the easiest for us to beat. It's also their comfort zone. We can't ban everything out, so let's give them the Mag and the Lina and try to work with it. It didn't work out.
But they did seem unprepared, because even going into their first picks, they were using reserve time. That was a huge shock to me. You come into a best of 3 in game 1 particularly, where you've had, the entire night to prepare. You should know exactly what you're going to be picking in that first phase based on your opponent, because they knew they were going to leave the Magnus in. They had to have had a game plan for a first pick Magnus, and they went in reserve time for 2 picks.
Yeah, and we were talking about S4 having these marvelous games. Sometimes this definitely wasn't one of those. Maybe he was micromanaging the team a little bit too much and they weren't helping him. I feel like, yeah, you need to activate Limp, you need to help out your mid laner, but as well, your Sand King can't be 111. Your Sand King can be completely stomped in the laning stage because who will make any plays for your side then?
Well, looking at the draft, do you think that Sand King was ever part of the plan?
Maybe not plan A. I mean, I think not many. There are some teams last pick and they were offlaner, but it felt like when they got to his pick, there was not much left that was going to fit the game for him. And I think this game really highlighted, why most teams don't have their kind of shot caller, their captain playing the offlane role, because it is really hard to do both when you're a core player, winning your lane as well as trying to lead your team.
And also quite shocking for T1. That could have been the fastest game they've actually played here at the main event of TI. We should probably see if we can get our stats guy Leo on that one, because I'd be really interested to know. Do you think the pace was simply because T1 just had the confidence, they knew it, they had it in the bag, or because there was a risk of Alliance actually being able to scale up and take back the tempo, Owen?
I mean, maybe if the game went... I mean, I don't know. Sure, they had a more fun Alliance, but they were just so far behind. I don't know if any amount of duration of that game would have made things any better for them. Like, they were just so far behind. I think T1, they're happy to play the game at any stage. We just see that high ground push where things started to go, they were 23k up, so they're pretty comfortable. T1 obviously resetting, and then they sort of did what they've done in a lot of the other games that we've seen here, really. A team that's very, very safe, and they make sure not to throw games away. There was just that little bit of a premature push down the mid, but other than that, they were ready to fall back to the same way they've won a lot of their games, which is just sort of stall it out, get this incredible lead, and get to the point where there's just no chance for the enemy.
You can imagine what they were going for, right? With the Sand King and the Morphling, there is synergy there. It's not like Sand King it was something completely unprepared. You have the Aghanims on the Morphling, then Sand King, double stuns, double Sandstorms. It can be really difficult to deal with, but they got there way too late. I think they let the Wraith King ramp up way too fast. Armlet, Dezo, and Blink Dagger.
That was great.
Yeah, it was just all in fights. Just go straight, no radiance, no shenanigans, no farming, just fight constantly. And it worked out for T1.
I was going to say, what did we like about 23 Savage's Wraith King? I mean, what was there not to like, to be fair?
Yeah, it was everything. It was none of this. I think we saw Wraith King in the group stage. I can't remember which team played it, but it was like Midas, Radiance, farming. And I mean, this game, 23 Savage, he goes to prove you get these items, you fight, and you're making just as much money as the Wraith King that's going to go AFK and just hit creeps all game and then inevitably lose the game, because the hero just doesn't feel that good when it's played in that sort of Midas, Radiance, AFK way. You know, you want to do exactly what 23 Savage did here. I was a little hesitant when I saw the pick come up last because I was worried that, oh, maybe they're going to do that. But then, of course, it's like, no, it's T1. They're going to fight. They're going to brawl. They're going to get him involved at every possible moment. And, we saw him one-shotting heroes. You know, poor old what was it, FNG or something, just disappears underneath the blade of him. I mean, he was having a great time. And I think that's awesome to see, you know, T1 bringing out these sort of carries that aren't necessarily the top carries of the meta and just showing how strong and confident they are. It just goes to show we've not seen everything that T1's ready to show on the main stage. They've definitely got lots up their sleeve.
I've now got a new mantra to playing Wraith King. Why waddle when you can blink? Why did Purge never teach me that before when I was trying to play Wraith King and I was complaining about how slow his animation is when trying to get last hits? Do you think actually now we're going to see more Wraith King, now that 23 Savage has showed it could be viable at the main event?
I'm not quite sold. I think Magnus also enabled the hero quite a bit.
I don't think we loved the pick at the time, but perhaps we underestimated what... I think the Magnus is a big part of why you don't have to go for the Radiance build, because you do have that, you know, flash farm and power ability. So
it's definitely a strong hero. And 23 Savage, what amazes me is that this guy, he hasn't been at the TI before. He was just picked up. He played a little bit in Vici Gaming. Well, not really played. And then they took him to T1, and he's already on the main stage of the international, and he's picking heroes that are not in the meta and feeling extremely comfortable on them. That's huge. That just shows the confidence.
Yeah. I have a feeling big things are ahead for this kid. But right now, we're actually going to take a trip down memory lane and see when big things were afoot for Alliance.
My favorite memory from past TS would be TI3, where we Alliance won. I remember almost every game I played, because most of the games we played there really stood out. It was my first TI I went to, and for me, it was just completely new. Since I watched the previous TIs, I watched TI2, and that's where I got like really into Dota. And going into my first TI in TI3, I would pretty much remember everything about that TI.
I was, I believe, 15 or 16 years old boy who was watching TI1, and I'm still a fan of competitive scene of the Dota, so I can't say, like, you know, I'm only the player. Yeah, right now I'm the player, but also, since I worked as a talent on 3 TIs, I know the feeling when you watch the game and you want to play it, but you also want to watch it because you see good players compete at it. This, like, you know, one step being fan and one step being player is like such a cool feeling, actually.
I did watch the TI1. But I was not into it so much. But TI2 was really when I was like, wow, this game is good. I need to really, I want to be these guys, you know.
The best TI? Well, I mean, all of them are best, you know. It depends on what makes it the best for you, you know. Is it the players? Is it the place? Is it the tournament itself, you know? In the end of the day, it's still like a huge, like a holiday, basically, you know, where you legit enjoy yourself, enjoy your games, enjoy the show, and just love your life, you know.
What do you think is the future of TI? Do you think there will ever not be a TI? Are we going to make it to TI 100? What do you think?
In the end, it's the fans who support the most, right? Like, we get this huge prize pool because fans love the game and they're trying to be part of it in any way they can. So as long as there are fans and community, it will go, like, you know, infinity.
Do you guys have any memories of TI3?
A lot, yeah. That finals, I mean, the TI3 Na'Vi Alliance is like one of the craziest Game 5 Grand Finals ever, the comeback. And I remember just sitting in the stands. I was next to the Korean commentators who were at the event, and they're just screaming, going crazy. The Russian commentators on the other side of them, they're going absolutely wild throughout the entire game as well. And it was just the Battle Royale atmosphere was one of the kind of most electric places to be because it was that kind of smaller, more intimate venue. And yeah, it just produced so many amazing matches.
Given that S4 was part of that winning lineup, were you quite excited when you saw him return to the Alliance brand?
For sure, everyone wanted him back on Alliance. They struggled since pretty much TI3. So with him returning, you're thinking, okay, they can do it again. And I really like what FNG said. It's not about the TI itself when it comes to the Dota and the games. It's about what makes it special for you. Is the experience that you had. And TI3 for me is exactly that. It's what TI1 was for him. That's TI3 for me. It's one of those first ones that I watched that made me really love the game and try and get there. Eventually, I did get there, but not necessarily as a player.
Well, listen up, guys. F&G, he worked 3 TIs as talent, and now he's playing in a booth.
There's still chance.
There's still a chance, but who is the most likely to be chosen to play TI? Hashtag TI10, let us know. But right now, our teams are taking to the stage, and thank goodness for them, none of us are among their ranks. T1 and Alliance. This could be the last game we see Alliance play on the stage here at the National Arena in Bucharest, Romania. So tensions are going to be slightly high in the booth. Meanwhile, T1, let's see if they got a taste for fast games after that one. So much is going to be on the draft in this one. And Alliance, they're the only team here who don't have a coach. Obviously, we saw Jake talking to March earlier. He's a coach you want on your side. For Alliance, if you could give them any advice, I know it's a difficult spot to be in, what do you want to see them do next in this next game, Lizard?
I always go back to OG and how they would talk in the booth after a loss. Just forget about the game. We're here to win. Enjoy it. Rely on each other. You can do it. Just get the good vibes going. Get that PMA going. Believe in yourself. Believe in what worked for you throughout the DPC seasons and try your best.
Yeah, I never feel like there's anything you can say that's going to change, like in terms of like strategy or skill. It's all you can do is focus on where your head's at when you're looking at, bouncing back from a tough loss.
Owen,
I'd say focus on just changing it up. Alliance, I think they do best when they come in one game. If they lose, just going for something completely different. And this man, I'll keep calling for. I just want to see him play as Void. I know that they do like having him on like the Morse, the Deuces, or the AFK, but I really think Nico Baby, get him involved earlier, get him active. They're lacking something when they're just sort of fighting with the 4 of them against a team like T1. Get Nico Baby on something that he can turn up to the fight and fight back against this just incredible power that T1 brings early.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think this team is very similar to that Mineski team that Nico Baby was on last TI. The only time they were winning games was when Nico Baby was like solo carrying the game, getting involved, and he was like, he's the guy. Yeah. I don't feel like, Alliance isn't a team that can do what like OG did yesterday, where Sumail gets completely shut down, but they still win the game because everyone else steps up. Limp, S4, they're just not those guys. They're going to play stable, they're going to be consistent, but Nico Baby is the win condition for Alliance every single game.
So what is so special about Nico Baby's Void?
Oh, it's just great. I mean, the hero's still good. I think he's underpicked, really. And I don't know. And so this day and age where you have so many of these heroes sort of raising up in the meta, like these ETs, it's just a perfect setup. And, what's better against these teams that want to try and brawl as a 5-man than a hero that's going to be able to turn up, lock them in position, and set up a turnaround?
I would love to see that. I would love to see Nico Baby on some full comfort zone, but his Morphling is also really scary. So I would maybe take my attention elsewhere. I would take it to the offlane and the mid lane, and no matter what you pick for Nico Baby, make sure that the other 2 lanes are doing well. So even if you sack him early on, if you get him a bad matchup like that Void versus something that's decent versus Venomancer or whatnot, make sure that Limp and S4 are having a good time, because they will be the ones that get you through that mid game. They didn't have a mid game in that last game. The first game was awful in that aspect.
They need to pick their heroes earlier, I feel like. They first 2 picked the 2 supports. S4 had last pick when half, his best heroes are all banned. There was no Tide, there was no Mars. All these teamfight specialists that he likes to play weren't available. And Limp, they could have first 2 picked the Lina, so I feel like they need to prioritize making sure they get those comfort picks so that S4, Limp can have those kind of consistent performances.
This is the funny thing about Alliance. They did incredibly well in DPC. I mean, they came first back in May. What were they doing well there? Can you remember, Gods? is a
They
while
were,
ago.
yeah, no. I mean, they were just consistent. I mean, this is, I think, always the story. I think I was talking to Owen about this before. They played consistent Dota. What's that look, Owen?
I was smiling.
We're not used to seeing it.
Yeah.
When he's off camera, he's a miserable git. I am only joking. He's absolutely delightful. And hopefully this game will be too. Game number 2, Alliance versus T1.